All right, folks, we are wrapping up the Eastern Conference offseason outlooks here. We have reached the Orlando Magic at 15. Now, obviously, headline for their offseason is number one pick Paolo Banchero coming in. Probably one of the biggest switch-ups of any draft pick I've ever seen in terms of it seemed like the general consensus was Jabari Smith at 1, and it turned out to be Paolo Banchero. And we all just kind of caught wind of it the night before. And, in retrospect, it seemed like everyone thought Powell was maybe the better player, whether Jabari Smith either fit better with the Magic or maybe had a higher ceiling, who's to say, especially because it seems like Orlando's obviously emphasized length and defense, and so Powell doesn't necessarily fit that, but in another way, kind of the fact that he doesn't fit that means that he fills other voids that they kind of were missing last season in terms of having an offensive creator in the front court, someone who can create his own shot, someone who can facilitate some and just get a bucket. I think they lacked kind of a guy like that. And with this young core, you add Paolo to the mix. I think something's brewing here in Orlando in terms of, obviously barring injuries. I think this could be a really solid team that could make a bigger jump than maybe any other team just in terms of the standings. And, obviously starting at 15, they're the lowest you can be. But maybe hopping in to a play-in discussion depending on how this kind of franchise sees this season, if it is to try and make a push and win as many games, or if it's to try and kind of lay low and, try and get another top 5 pick to pair with Paolo. We will see. Orlando's kind of had that phase of, pretty perpetual mediocrity, kind of the Vucevic era of getting, 7, 8 seed every year. Then, now they've had some picks in the lottery, and kind of now we're taking stock, seeing what those picks could potentially become. Now, really young core here in terms of Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs in the backcourt, obviously Franz Wagner coming back, and they brought back Mo Bamba, which I think might have surprised some people. Wasn't sure, obviously when you have a top pick like that, you don't have a kind of big extension situation. It obviously makes it a little tense, but they bring Mo Bamba back, bring Gary Harris back on a 2 for $26, which I think, probably is more than anyone else would pay him, but perhaps they're looking at that as a sort of trade situation if they need salary filler. Gary Harris is, $13 million annual will be there in case they need to, if they're going after a big salary. It hasn't been kind of the Magic's MO of late, but it's an option there and they have the cap space, so not sure it's really a, apocalyptic decision here. And then brought B.o.B back again, kind of took a flyer on him. And it's really just a young team when you look at, Markelle Fultz is only 24 still. Obviously mentioned some of the guys, Franz Wagner now entering his sophomore year. And so now it becomes a discussion of, would you be willing to move any of those guys to kind of upgrade, if you're looking at kind of trying to compete a little bit more and take on maybe some better veterans or guys, in their mid to late 20s and offer, one of these young guys up just because, is it too many mouths to feed and can everyone develop simultaneously in Orlando here? And maybe the answer is yes. Maybe they like what they have. I'm just kind of throwing that out there. They still have, Terrence Ross. They've been shopping for a while. Probably won't get a ton for him, but, that's some minutes that will hopefully go to a younger guy at some point. Same situation with Gary Harris. And so, probably if you're Orlando, you will take another year to kind of, take stock of what you have. It's getting kind of, I feel like, tough just because Orlando hasn't had a ton to just be hopeful about. And now that we have Paolo here, you want to win right away. You want him to be kind of the focal point of everything. And it may work, it may not. It may be, a Cade Cunningham situation where he starts off slow and really, finds his rhythm in the second half. And that's totally fine, too. I don't think there's any pressure to win in Orlando necessarily. It's just been a bit of a drought here. And let's not sleep on Caleb Houston as well. Orlando's second-round pick. See if he can help them on the wing. Definitely kind of a raw talent, really young. So we'll see if he can contribute right away or carve out a role for himself down the stretch. But I do think, given kind of what they've built on, that Orlando will not be an easy win every night. For other teams, I think they're going to be one of these kind of like the Pacers, young, scrappy, always kind of bring the effort on defense. And then, the wild card here is Jonathan Isaac, who we haven't seen in quite some time, but with his frame and what he can do on both ends of the floor, we're not sure what version we'll see of him. Obviously, he hasn't played in a competitive basketball game in a long time, but again, still a lot of years ahead of him. And, if he can be kind of that, shot blocker, can shoot from the outside kind of guy, you pair him with Wendell Carter and Paolo, I mean, that's a pretty formidable front court for the, foreseeable future. And you pair that, Jalen Suggs, I think, had moments but really struggled last year, and whether he can kind of figure it out this year, I think is something to keep an eye on, because if he takes a big jump offensively, Cole Anthony has shown he can be kind of a flamethrower, can put up a lot of points. Franz Wagner's very solid on the wing. Like, this is, this could become something here in Orlando with this young core. Not saying it will be, but I do think they're not going to be an easy out here. And I wouldn't be surprised, even kind of like with Indiana, where Orlando's in a similar situation where they might win more games than they probably should in terms of just, kind of their franchise trajectory. But these guys are going to be playing hard. These guys are going to want to win right away, because as a player, your mentality is not, let's throw the next couple games so we get a top 5 pick. They're going to want to win. And so, whether Orlando can kind of beat out the other kind of bottom teams in the East, not sure. It's kind of like with the top, where injuries matter a lot and kind of team, just what phase you're in. So Orlando, I'm excited to see how Paolo does, how he fits in with this young core. Hoping Jalen Suggs takes a step up, Jonathan Isaac remains healthy, Wendell Carter, Franz Wagner continue to do their thing. And, dark horse team here, obviously not in terms of like playoffs or anything, but as a bigger jump, maybe if I was going to bet on a team to go from make a 5-step jump from 15 to 10, Orlando Magic. What do you think? I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Let me know what you think, where you have Orlando, how you see them going forward. Love to know your take on them. But that's it from me for now. Take care of yourselves. Take it easy. And I'll see you next time in the Western Conference. How about that? We're going out west. Manifest destiny. All right.